The house was too quiet after Leonard died. I kept the radio low and the lights warm, like he liked them. I cooked simple food because I knew what Adam loved as a boy: lemon chicken, buttered peas, a small cake with shaved lemon on top. I told myself it was just dinner, but my hands moved like I was setting a stage. For months my son had sounded different. Before, he called to ask about the garden or to share a joke from work. After he married Ava, his messages changed. Mom, the stairs look unsafe. The roof is a lot for you to manage. We should handle the bills, it's easier in our name. Every line was soft, but every line pointed to one thing: the deed. I saw other things too. Ava always looked around the house like a buyer in a showroom. When she hugged me, her eyes slid past me to the framed photos, the silver tray Leonard's mother gave us, the old clock that still kept perfect time. I told myself I was being unfair. That grief made me suspicious. But then a neighbor mentioned a loud fight in their car. I heard my name. I heard the word house. I met Nora, our family attorney, for tea. We talked about heat and wills and the price of eggs. Then I told her everything. She listened without a single interruption and asked precise questions. Have they asked you to sign anything? Do you feel threatened? Do you feel safe? By the end of that week, I had practical steps, simple steps. Paperwork. A new lock on my study. A small camera in the dining room where we usually eat. She showed me a tiny remote hidden in a glasses case. Only if you need it, she said. And call me if anything feels wrong. Even late. When Adam texted, dinner tonight. Just us. I said yes. I wanted the night to be peaceful. I set the table with our blue plates and took out the linen napkins Leonard always folded like boats. I placed the glasses case remote in the sideboard drawer and told myself not to think about it. They came at 11. Ava was all perfume and sharp heels, a big leather bag on her arm. Adam kissed my cheek, and for a moment I saw my boy again. The boy who cried when the neighbor's dog died and once saved his pocket money to fix my garden bench. He looked tired. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We ate and talked about small things. The new cafe downtown. A show they were watching. The chicken was good, the cake was sweet. I watched their faces the way I used to watch paintings at the museum, searching for what was true beneath the color. Midnight crept up while we talked about nothing. Then Ava put her fork down and pulled a folder from her bag. She smoothed the cover like it was delicate silk and slid it toward me. Let's do something practical, she said in a bright, practiced voice. This will help everyone. Adam stared at the table. He didn't stop her. I didn't touch the folder. What is it? The deed transfer, she said, still smiling. We'll take over repairs and taxes. You'll have no stress. We already booked a notary for tomorrow morning. I didn't ask for that, I said. Ava's smile thinned. Sometimes you have to help people do the right thing, even if they don't see it yet. Adam cleared his throat. Mom, it's just we've talked about this. It's safer with us. You shouldn't be alone with a big property. I am not alone, I said softly. Ava leaned forward, eyes hard. Sign tonight, Margaret. If you don't, things change. We need a clear answer now. What kind of change? I asked. My voice sounded calm in my own ears, which surprised me. The kind where we step back, Ava said. No more visits. No more calls. No holidays. She let the words hang like a knife. No grandchildren. The clock ticked once, loud and rude. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. I looked at my son. Adam. He kept his eyes on the folder. It's better this way, he whispered. Please don't make this hard. I thought of Leonard at the hospital, the way he squeezed my hand and said, be kind, but don't be naive. I thought of that little boy who once hid crayon drawings under my pillow because he wanted me to dream in color. And I thought of the neighbor's low voice saying he'd heard my name and the word house. I reached for my tea to buy a second of time. The cup rattled on the saucer. I could have begged. I could have cried. But I remembered Nora's small, precise steps, and that steadied me. I stood up and walked to the sideboard. My fingers found the glasses case and the tiny remote inside. I felt its weight like a pebble in my palm. Why are you rummaging around? Ava said. The cheer was gone from her voice now. This doesn't need to be dramatic. It's a signature. I faced them. No. It is my home. Ava pushed the pen at me. Tonight, Margaret. Adam flinched at the sound of his wife saying my first name like that. For a heartbeat I saw doubt on his face, then it vanished under pressure. I pressed the remote. The television above the fireplace woke with a soft blue glow. A black screen turned to a split image of our table from two angles. The folder, the pen, the way Ava's mouth had shaped the words "no more visits." The date and time sat in the corner like a small witness that never blinks. Ava jerked back. "What is this?" Adam looked at the screen and then at me. His lips parted, and for the first time that night he looked like he might be sick. "It's our dinner," I said. "All of it." Ava laughed, but it was too loud and too fast. "You recorded us? That's illegal." "In this house," I said, "it's legal. And in this house, it is also necessary." "Turn it off," she snapped. I didn't. The video kept playing, every word clean, every threat clear. I walked back to my chair and sat down. My hands had stopped shaking. I folded them on the table like a woman who has all night. Ava gathered herself, tried to smile again, and pushed the folder closer. "This is ridiculous. Everyone records everything these days. It doesn't change the fact that you need to sign." I looked at Adam. "Do I?" He swallowed and said nothing. Outside, the river moved slowly in the dark. The old clock ticked again. I thought of how grief can make a person small, and how silence can make a person disappear. I chose not to disappear. "Here is my answer," I said, my eyes on my son. "And it will not change before morning." Ava leaned back, eyes narrow, waiting for me to fold. Adam's fingers pinched the edge of his napkin until it tore. I reached down, took a sealed envelope from the drawer beneath the table, and laid it beside their folder. My name was on one. Adam's name was on the other. I did not open them. I let them sit between us like two different roads. Ava stared. "What is that?" "Proof," I said. "And a choice." The TV kept playing. The room felt as still as snow. Adam finally lifted his eyes to mine, and I saw the boy he used to be fighting to reach the man he needed to become. "Mom," he whispered, "what did you do?" I took a breath that filled my whole chest. "You will find out," I said, and the clock struck 12 again in my head. Adam's question hung in the air. I let it sit there, steadying my breath. The screen above the fireplace kept playing our own faces back to us. The timestamp blinked, 12:03 a.m. "I protected the house," I said. "After your father died, I moved it into a trust. It is not in my name anymore. I can't sign it to anyone, even if I wanted to." Ava blinked like I had spoken another language. "What do you mean you can't? It's your house." "It was," I said. "Now it belongs to the Larkspur Trust. A professional trustee manages it. Their job is to say no to anything that harms me. Transfers need their approval. I do not have the power you think I have." Ava leaned forward, smile tight. "Then call this trustee. Tell them it's fine. Tell them you approve." "That is not how it works," I answered. "It is an irrevocable trust. That means I cannot change it to please someone. Not you. Not even myself on a hard night." Adam finally looked up. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I hoped I wouldn't need to," I said. "Because I trusted you to love me more than the deed." Ava's chair scraped the floor. "You set up traps. Cameras? Trusts? Letters? You planned to make us look like monsters." I shook my head. "I planned to stay safe. The rest is the truth speaking for itself." Ava's eyes flicked to the envelopes. She reached for the one with her name, but I put a hand on it. "We will open these after we are all calm." She laughed without humor. "I am perfectly calm." On the television, her own voice answered back from minutes ago. "Sign tonight, or things change." The words were clear, cruel. Even she flinched at the sound. Adam rubbed his forehead. "Mom, I didn't want it like this. We thought it would be easier to do it fast. Less drama. That is how people take things," I said. "Fast, and while you are tired." His shoulders sagged. I thought we were helping." "You booked a notary," I said gently. "You came at midnight. You threatened holidays and future children. That is not help." Silence again. I could hear the river and the faint hum of the refrigerator, the same old sounds that used to mean home. Tonight they sounded like a test I needed to pass. I slid my phone from my pocket under the table, typed a single word to Nora. Now. We had agreed. If nothing was wrong, she would sleep. If I texted that word, she would come with a witness, quietly, respectfully. Not to make a scene, but to stand with me. Ava noticed the movement. "Texting who? Your neighbor? The police?" She said the last word like a dare. "My attorney," I said. Ava rolled her eyes. Of course, I nodded. She stood and paced, then stopped at the mantel as if to turn off the television. I spoke before she lifted a hand. "Please don't touch it," I said. "The video is already saved off-site. Turning off the screen won't change what happened here." "Off-site?" She stared at the little camera in the corner, a simple round eye I had dusted this afternoon like any other frame. You're serious? I am, I said. The law is serious too. Threatening an older person to give up their home is not a family joke. It has a name. Adam's voice was a whisper. Elder abuse. He said it like a confession. He sank back in his chair. The napkin in his hands was a shred now. I wanted to take those torn corners and stitch them back together, the way I had once sewed his school badges onto his sweater. There are some repairs a mother cannot do for her child. Ava turned to me, new tactic in her eyes. You don't have to sign the deed tonight. Fine. Let's talk numbers then. We can do a life estate. You keep living here. We control the paperwork. Everyone wins. I almost smiled. She was quick. It would have worked on a softer heart. No. Why not? She pressed. Because the point was never paperwork, I said. The point was pressure. You did not come to make me safe. You came to make me small. Adam shifted. Ava. She cut him a look. Don't start. He looked at me instead. Mom, I'm sorry. I should have stopped it. The startup is drowning. We're late on rent. Investors are calling me every day. She said this would fix it. I believed her. I thought we could refinance, do repairs, make it an asset, and then what? I asked softly. You sell it. You borrow against it until it isn't a home anymore. He closed his eyes. I don't know. The doorbell rang. Not loud, just a clear bell in the quiet house. Ava startled, then folded her arms. Who is that? I stood and walked to the door. The porch light painted the night in a soft circle. Nora stood there with a neat binder in her hands, her gray hair tucked behind one ear. Beside her was a community officer I knew from the senior center, not with flashing lights, just in a warm jacket with a name tag. They both spoke low. Evening, Margaret, Nora said. Everyone safe? Yes, I said. Please come in. Ava bristled. You called the police on your own family? The officer is here for a wellness check, Nora said calmly. No one is under threat. He is only a witness that delivery happened and that everyone was okay when it did. Delivery of what? Ava demanded. Nora set her binder on the sideboard and looked from the running screen to the folder on the table. She glanced at the camera in the corner. She nodded, as if ticking boxes in her mind. Then she spoke in the same soft tone she used at my kitchen table 6 weeks ago. Mrs. Vale has protections in place. Tonight's conversation appears to include coercive language. Under state law, that can be considered elder financial abuse. Ava scoffed, but quieter now. We're family. Abuse can happen in families, Nora said. That's where it often hides. The officer greeted Adam by name. Our town is small. I'm just here to make sure everyone's okay, he said. No judgments. Adam kept his eyes on the table. I'm okay, he muttered. He looked anything but. Nora slid 2 documents from her binder. She did not hand them to me. She placed them on the table between us, like a referee placing a ball. These are notices, she said. One is a formal cease and desist regarding further attempts to force a transfer. The other explains the trust structure. It clarifies that the house cannot be signed tonight or tomorrow or any other night. The trustee has already declined any transfers not in Mrs. Vale's clear interest. Ava stared at the papers like they were tickets to a life she could no longer board. You can't do this. It has already been done, Nora said gently. Your choices are about what comes next. The room shifted. The threat, which had filled the walls like smoke, thinned. It wasn't gone, but it was seen. Seeing is the first safety. I sat again and slid the envelope with Adam's name toward him. This is yours, I said. Don't open it now. Take it home. Read it when you are alone. Ava reached for it, and he moved his hand across it, a simple, small protectiveness that I had not seen all night. He nodded once. Okay. Nora turned to the television and clicked a small device of her own. The footage paused on Ava's hand, pushing the pen toward me. Time froze the shape of her fingers, the angle of her wrist. Suddenly the night looked like a painting you could study. I don't want to fight, I said, finally tired all the way to my bones. I want to sleep in my home without fear. I want my son to decide the kind of man he will be. Everything else can wait. No one answered. We just listened to the river and the old clock and the breath of 4 people in one room at 12:22 in the morning. Let's end tonight with clarity, Nora said. No signatures. No more threats. You may call me tomorrow. We can speak calmly in daylight. For now, go home. Ava opened her mouth, then closed it. She grabbed her bag. Come on, Adam, she said. Adam stood but didn't move. He looked at the envelope again. He looked at me. The look said everything he could not say yet. "I'll call you tomorrow," he whispered. I nodded. "Daylight is better." They left. The door clicked shut behind them. The officer tipped his head and followed. Nora stayed a moment longer, her hand light on my shoulder. "You did well," she said. "I didn't shake," I whispered, surprised. "You didn't need to," she said. After they were gone, I turned off the television. The room looked like my room again. I washed the 3 plates, wiped the table, and set the 2 unused linen napkins back in the drawer, smooth and unwrinkled, ready for a kinder night. Morning came slow and gray. I made tea and waited for my hands to shake. They didn't. The house was quiet again, but it felt like my house, not a place I was about to lose. At 9, Nora called. "I filed the notice with the trustee," she said. I sent them the video and my report. "We'll do a short call at 10. At 10 we spoke with the trustee, a calm woman named Ruth. She had the steady voice of someone who has seen many families at their worst and still believes they can do better. She asked a few questions, clear and careful. "Was there a notary scheduled? Was there a threat of isolation? Do you feel safe now?" "Yes," I said to the last one. It felt good to say it and mean it. "Then we proceed," Ruth said. "Under the language in your trust, last night's behavior qualifies as coercion. The bad conduct clause is now in effect. I will send letters today. There will be no transfer of the house. There will be a cooling period. If you wish, we can also place a no trespass notice on file for now." Nora glanced at me through the screen. "Just the cooling period," I said. "They need space to think, not another wall." After the call, Nora slid a new folder across my kitchen table. Inside was a simple plan with simple words. One page explained the clause in plain English. Another page showed how the house had been moved to the Larkspur Trust months ago. The last page was the letter to Adam I had put in his envelope. I read it again, line by line, to make sure it sounded like me. Firm, not cruel. At noon my phone buzzed. A text from Adam. I read it. "Can we talk? Alone?" He added a second message. "I'm sorry. I told him to come at 3. While I waited, I walked from room to room, touching small things I love. The dent in the old dining table where Leonard once dropped a heavy book, the thin crack in the first blue plate we bought together, the soft rug by the window where I sit in winter sun with a blanket and a book. My home did not feel like money. It felt like years. At 3, Adam stood on the porch with the envelope in his hand and eyes I recognized from when he was 8 and had broken a neighbor's window with a baseball. He came in and sat, holding the letter like it might burn through his fingers. "I didn't know about Paris," he said quietly. "Or the gold." I nodded. "Your father didn't want money to be the only thing you saw when you looked at us. He wanted you to build your own life first. He planned those assets for later, through a second trust. We called it the Willow Trust. It holds a house in Paris your father loved when he was young, and an allocated gold account in Zurich. Not paper gold. Real bars with our names on them." He swallowed. "The letter says because of last night, I could lose it." "Yes," I said. "The clause applies to anyone who uses threats or pressure to take from me. The video is clear, Adam. It protects me. It also gives you a choice." He blinked. "The plan at the end. The redemption plan. It's not a test," I said. "It is a door. Therapy. Full honesty about your debts. Repayment, even if it is small and slow. A year of steady, boring truth. If you do that, the trustee can restore a limited share to you. Not to Ava. To you. The Paris house and the gold will still go to the foundation and to future grandchildren when they arrive, but you won't be cut off forever." He rubbed his face. He looked older than his years. "Ava says you made this up to control me. She says you turned me against her." "I turned a light on," I said. "That's all." He was quiet a long time. "The letter also mentions a foundation. Your father wanted his name to fund something good," I said. "We talked about it in the hospital. Books for kids who don't have them. Music lessons. A small scholarship for seniors who want to go back to school. Last night triggered the clause, so the trustee will direct part of the Willow Trust's future income to start it now. It isn't punishment, it is purpose." He nodded slowly, like a man learning a new language. "I can do therapy," he said at last. "I can send statements. I can make payments. I don't know how much. But I can try. Trying is what builds a life," I said. "Not grand gestures at midnight." His mouth twisted. "I know." The doorbell rang again. He flinched. I did too. When I opened the door, Ava stood there with a hard smile and a woman in a tight suit behind her. "This is Fiona," Ava said. "She's an attorney. She'll fix the misunderstanding." I kept my body in the doorway. "We are not discussing this tonight," I said. "You can contact Nora tomorrow." Fiona's smile was thin. "We're happy to do that. But we'd also like to clear up something simple. A life estate is common. You keep living here. My clients manage the asset. Everyone gets what they need." Behind me, Adam spoke. "We're not doing this, Ava." She stared at him as if he had spoken in a stranger's voice. "What?" He held up the envelope. I read it. "I did a terrible thing last night. We both did. I'm not doubling down." Her eyes flashed. "So this is it. You choose her money over our life." "It isn't about money," he said. "It's about what kind of man I am." Fiona lifted one eyebrow, bored. "If you change your mind," she said to me, my card. She held it out. I did not take it. "We won't," I said. They left without another word. The air in the hall felt lighter by the time the door clicked shut. After they were gone, Adam sat again and stared at the table. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," he said, voice flat. "The startup was going to be big. We were going to help you, not hurt you." "Wanting to win and being willing to do anything to win are not the same," I said. "One builds. The other burns." He nodded. "I'll call a counselor tonight." "Good," I said. "And call your landlord. Tell him the truth. Make a plan. Even a hard plan is better than a lie." He looked at me. "You really would have given me Paris? The gold. Your father would have," I said, honest. "I would have too, if you stayed the boy who saved for my garden bench. If you became a man who protects, not takes." He rubbed his eyes with the heels of his hands. "I want to be that man." "Then be him," I said. "Not in words. In days." That evening, Nora sent confirmation. The clause was recorded. The trustee had filed notices. A mediator had been scheduled for the following week, neutral and quiet, to give Adam a place to speak without Ava's voice filling the room. She also sent a draft for the Leonard Vail Foundation, simple and clean. I signed the first page and thought of Leonard's hand over mine, the two of us signing our first lease in a shabby apartment with a view of a fire escape and a sky we thought was ours. I slept that night. The river moved like it always does, slow and sure. In the morning I changed the gate code and put fresh sheets on the guest bed, just in case Adam needed a place to think that wasn't full of shame. By afternoon, a small wire arrived from Adam. It was $40. The memo line said, "First repayment." I'm sorry. It was not much money. It was a start. A day later, a letter from Ava's lawyer came to Nora, long and sharp. Nora answered with 3 paragraphs and 2 attachments, the trust language and the video transcript. Then everything went quiet, which is sometimes how trouble ends. Not with a blow, but with a door finally closing. When I set the table that night, I put out 1 blue plate and 1 small bowl for soup. I folded the napkin the way Leonard used to, into a little boat. It floated on the plain white table like a tiny promise. Outside, the porch light made a soft circle on the steps. Inside, the house kept time. And for the first time in months, I felt something that was not fear and not anger. It was steadiness. It was the exact size of my home. The week after the long night, we sat in a small room at a mediator's office. No big chairs. No high table. Just 4 mugs and a box of tissues. The mediator spoke first. Calm voice. Slow words. "We will talk one at a time. We will tell the truth." Adam went before Ava could. He did not defend himself. He did not defend her. He said what happened in plain words. We pushed. We threatened. We were wrong. His voice broke. He kept speaking anyway. It was the first brave thing I had seen from him in months. Ava stared at the window. "We were trying to help," she said. "She hoards things. The house is old. We needed to act." When the mediator asked if she would apologize for the threat, "No grandchildren. Signed tonight," Ava looked away. It was only to make her move. The mediator wrote 1 line on a sheet of paper and slid it between us. "Pressure is not love." We left with 2 paths written down in clear steps. One for Adam alone. Therapy, full debt list, monthly repayments, weekly check-ins with the trustee. One for both if they stayed married. The same rules plus a formal apology and a ban on any contact for property for 1 year. The mediator asked them to sign the plan. Adam did. Ava did not. She folded her arms and stared at the door. 3 days later, Adam came with a suitcase. He said he needed a quiet place to sleep for 2 nights, and then he would go. I gave him the guest room and clean towels. He cooked us eggs in the morning like he used to as a teenager. Too much pepper, always, but he left by noon to find a small room he could afford. That afternoon, he texted me a photo of a cramped studio with a brick wall and a sink by the bed. "It's not forever," he wrote. "It's a start." The start was slow and not pretty. He sent Nora a spreadsheet with every debt: cards, late rent, a loan from a friend he had been ashamed to mention. He sent Ruth, the trustee, a short note every Friday. What he earned, what he owed, what he paid. $40, $65, $100. Not big numbers. But they were honest numbers, and honest numbers add up. Ava moved out a month later. No drama. Just a short text that said she needed someone who thinks big. She blocked his number for a week, then unblocked it to argue about furniture. The last thing she wrote to me was a long message about loyalty and what family owes family. I did not reply. There are some arguments so empty that silence is the cleanest answer. I worked on the foundation with Nora and Ruth. We gave it Leonard's name because he loved simple gifts that last. The first-year plan was small, 10 grants, each for a quiet thing that changes a life: textbooks, a violin, a welding course, a bus pass. I stood in the bank and signed papers that would send a thin stream of money from the Willow Trust to children and older students I would never meet. The banker smiled at me and said, "Congratulations." I walked out to the car and cried for 10 minutes in the lot, not from sadness, but from relief. Money was no longer a secret that made us sick. It was a tool that could help. Seasons turned. I fixed a loose porch board. I pruned the roses. Adam kept every counseling appointment. He got a night job stocking shelves to stop the calls from a credit card company. On Sundays he came for dinner. We did not talk about the house or Paris. We talked about books and soup, and what the river looked like in the wind. Once he brought a small brown paper bag and set it on the table without a word. Inside was Leonard's watch. "Keep it safe," he said. "Not because I want money from it, because I don't trust myself yet." I locked it away and kissed his forehead like he was 5. Spring came with yellow light and new grass on the river bank. One morning Ruth called. "You are at month 11, she said. "Everything is on track. If the next month looks like the last 11, the clause allows a partial restoration for Adam. Not cash in hand. Guardrails. Slow. Safe. What does it look like?" I asked. "A spendthrift trust in his name only," she said. "Small monthly distributions for living. A strict rule. No borrowing against it, no co-signers, no transfers to a spouse or partner. A separate education fund for future children, if they come. And one more thing. Travel benefits from the Paris apartment each spring for 2 weeks, only if the other rules are met." I laughed, a sound I had not heard from my own mouth in a while. "He will cry." "If he does," Ruth said, "it will be for the right reason." On the last day of the 12th month, I baked the lemon cake again. I put out 3 plates this time. One for me, one for Adam, one empty for Leonard, because love makes room even for the dead. At 7, Nora and Ruth knocked. They sat at my kitchen table with tea. The old clock hummed. Adam arrived late, hair damp from the rain. He wiped his shoes carefully on the mat, such a small thing, but it said everything, and sat. His hands shook. "Did I pass?" he asked, trying to smile. "You lived," Nora said. "That's harder." Ruth opened her folder and placed an envelope on the table. It had Adam's name on it in neat blue ink. My chest ached at the sight. The last envelope. The one I had promised on that first night without yet knowing when I could give it. He looked at me. I nodded. He opened it slowly. He read. He looked up with wet eyes. He read again. I don't own anything," he said, confused, and then the sense of it caught up. "But I also can't ruin it. It takes care of me a little. It pays the counselor. It sets money aside for one day." "For one day," I said. "For children not yet born. For a man you are still building." He laughed and cried at the same time. 2 weeks in Paris?" he whispered. "Every spring? If I stay steady." "If you stay steady," Ruth said. "If you miss 2 counseling sessions or 2 repayments without calling us first, it pauses. Not a punishment. A reminder." He nodded hard. "I won't miss." Nora slid another small envelope across the table. "This one is for you, Margaret," she said. "It confirms the grant approvals for the foundation. 10 letters went out this morning." I opened it. There were names and short notes. A woman, 52, accepted to a welding course. A teen, 17, needs a violin to keep a scholarship. A father, 39, finishing night classes, needs bus fare. I touched each line with my finger. Leonard would have loved this list. The doorbell rang. We all looked up, startled. It was the neighbor who had heard the fight in the car months ago. He stood on the step with a small box. "This came to my house by mistake," he said. "For you." Inside was a thin frame and a short letter in French. The caretaker from Paris had sent a photograph of the apartment courtyard in spring. Green vines, pale stone, a bench in soft light. On the back he had written, "We keep it ready. The swallows are back." Adam held the frame like it was a borrowed miracle. "I don't deserve this," he said. "No one deserves mercy," I said. "We just try to be the kind of people who can carry it without dropping it." The night settled around us, quiet and warm. We ate cake. We talked about train stations and baguettes, and how to say please and thank you in French without sounding foolish. Ruth left with a handshake. Nora hugged me twice. Adam stayed to wash the dishes, his sleeves rolled, his focus honest. Before he went, he put his hand on the old table where Leonard once dropped the heavy book. "Thank you for not giving up on me," he said. "I did not give up," I answered. "I backed up and set a line, and then I waited for you to cross it the right way." He nodded. He understood. After he left, I put the watch back in the drawer and turned off the lights. The house was still my house. It would be safe when I was gone, too. The trust would do its quiet work. The foundation would send small gifts into the world. Adam would keep walking, one honest payment at a time. The river outside moved like always, slow, sure, stubborn. A month later, a plain white envelope came in the mail with no return address. Inside was a short letter in a hand I knew. "I am sorry. I was wrong. A. No demand. No attack. Just a sentence that was hard for her to write. I put it in a folder with the others. Not to use against her. To remember that even hard hearts sometimes soften when the noise stops." On the first day of spring, Adam texted me a photo from a narrow street with pale stone walls and a blue sky that looked close enough to touch. He held a baguette in one hand and the handle of a suitcase in the other. "The swallows are here," he wrote. "I'm on time for once." I stood by the window and watched the river. It kept going. So did we. And in that simple motion, forward, steady, honest, the last sharp edges of the midnight threat finally dropped away, like ice breaking free from the bank and joining the current where it belonged.